I mean, the purpose of today was to talk about the importance of video, but sort of do it in a more nuanced way. That often video is a bit of a dirty word because it's just seen as entertainment and frivolous, but video and communications and collaboration are critical to enabling a whole lot of new services, not just media services, but we touched on some of the areas of health and education. I mean, clearly, the, multicasting through the NBN presents some terrific opportunities and benefits, but also some interesting challenges around very defined benefits, but some issues around the evolving business model to address the additional costs of jumping on. For catch-up TV, content distribution costs is still one of those sort of problem areas that they rise with popularity, the costs rise. We touched on video quality. The issue clearly out of that was the issue around higher quality video signals is going to create some really interesting challenges around what you can put down broadcasting spectrum. The business models, I think, was the really sort of interesting sort of part of the day, and clearly there's some interesting business models that have been discussed today. I mean, the stuff that Ricky discussed with, the revenue share models for Fairfax, the video conferencing, what are those evolving business models, particularly as the enterprise model? We've touched on some of those enterprise models are under threat, but what's that business model to support that any-to-any connectivity? Rachel touched on, there's a lot of sort of, in the app space there's, and social networking, there is a lot of silos and problems in terms of taking up those business models. The other thing that we probably didn't touch on sort of too much was there's a whole lot of other video content sort of sitting out there. So it's not just the media companies or the broadcasters, but I mean, Ricky's sourcing content in Fairfax from a whole lot of sort of new and interesting sources, but also that other sort of what I call sort of public interest videos. So people like the National Film and Sound Archives, a range of educational organisations, health organisations that have really interesting disparate content. How do we make that more available? A lot of that's hidden away. And can we use some of these new catch-up TV or multicasting platforms to make that content more visible, more used, and ultimately more valuable to Australians? There was a discussion quickly on devices. Sally touched on the massive growth in demand for viewing catch-up TV or the iView over mobile devices. But what's interesting is the other research that we've done around most of those mobile devices to watch catch-up TV are doing it in the home. They're using Wi-Fi. So mobile devices are the interface, either a smartphone or a tablet, but the predominant use is in the home. So all the heavy lifting around that sort of bandwidth is still going to happen over a fixed network, and that's a really sort of important piece of the jigsaw puzzle. We could actually create different types of services. If we want a low latency service for that music masterclass, well, do you sort of get rid of your compression, bump up your bandwidth, and all of a sudden you can enable a whole sort of new type of service. So on the video conferencing, clearly the old enterprise models are under threat, and the sort of more internet-based, the rise of Skype has been phenomenal, and some interesting sort of challenges around for network providers. And service providers, how do they ensure that quality of service for a video conference? And just quickly, the two final points is Jeff touched on the collaboration as being a sort of really important part. So it's not just the basic video, but it's all those extra things, the collaborative workspaces, the remote control of instruments, the augmented reality that it allows you to reinvent collaboration in a totally different way. And that interesting, I suppose, paradigm is that we may even start using some of these collaboration tools even when we're physically present. And finally, sort of a point we sort of touched on but probably didn't explore in great depth is this idea of video as a sensor. So video's going places we can't even sort of imagine. Putting video on a farm, to actually look at the health of cattle, for example. So there's sort of some of those things. So I'd just like to sort of, I suppose, wrap up there, but I think it's been a really interesting day. I mean, for us, it's an interesting opportunity to bring some interesting people with different perspectives on the industry together. We learn something, and I hope everyone in the room has also sort of enjoyed today and learnt something from the various crowds. But I'd like to thank the various speakers, the current panel, and the speakers from the previous sessions. Thank you.